How's it going, everybody? It's Daikin here, bringing you another Guilty Gear Strive video. And today we're going to be doing my character overview so we can talk about exactly which character is best for you. We're going to be going over their character archetypes, unique mechanics to them, their game plan, their strengths and weaknesses, and do I think they are beginner friendly or not. So let's get started with Soul and Kai. Alright, so Soul's the main character of the game. He's going to have pretty good buttons, pretty standard Shoto tools, as well as some things that aren't going to be Shoto tools. He has like DP, he has Fireball, he has his Fafnir move. This is a guard break, is also plus on block. He has Bandit Revolver, or Bandit Bringer, Bandit Revolver. He has a bunch of kicks, so he has a lot of good special moves. He has very good command normals. Like I said, this move right here is +2 on block, so he has very good pressure when it comes to that. So he has a lot of things going for him. He's a very strong character and very beginner friendly because a lot of things just work when you're pressing buttons with him in the corner. You can just kind of do things, and a lot of things will connect when you don't even know what's happening. You just be doing stuff like this, and it just all just starts chaining together, and you're just like, why am I doing so much damage? That is Soul. He does have a few weaknesses. He is like a little sluggish when it comes to moving around, so his momentum or his movement isn't the best, but he makes up with it with having very good buttons like 6S and this good moving +2 normal right here that starts the party. He also has things that deals with projectiles very well, like this, and his famous sweep that goes under a lot of normals and projectiles because of how low he gets to the ground. So very strong character overall. Like I said, he wants to get in. So his thing is he wants to stay in, he wants to get in, he wants to stay in your face, applying pressure, make you want to press the button. And when you're scared to press the button, he can always go for command throw and do massive damage that way. So he has also a very good super. This super is fully armored and it's a command grab. So if you see a person doing something from far away, like a fireball, for example, if I do a fireball with Kai, you can react to that and punish. So very, very strong tool. It goes very fast. It goes basically almost full screen, and you get a lot of damage from it. So Soul's a very good beginner character for sure. Kai is going to be another standard character. He's going to have a lot of standard tools, like another balanced character. So he's going to have pretty good pokes, like this far slash, this heavy slash. He has a 6H, which is very good for counter hitting. If this counter hits, it will give wall bounces and stuff. He has, of course, like I said, Fireball. He has a DP, like so. He can do his DP in the air. He has SDP, HDP that moves him forward. He also has air fireballs, as you can see. His H version of his projectile on the ground is 3 hits, very slow. You can use this for Oki setups, like that. He also has this flip. This flip is very good. It can go over projectiles. It can go over normals and stuff. So very good. It especially with run momentum, it could cover a lot of distance really fast, like that. You have to watch out for it for sure. He also has this 5K, which is a standing low, so you do have to watch out about that. Now, the unique thing about Kai is that he has this shock state. So the shock state right here is going to allow him to change his frame data on some of his specials, like this. So this does allow this to be plus, and because it's plus, he can actually combo off of it during shock state. Now, the thing about shock state is certain things give it to him, like this move right here and his fireball. Now, with those in mind, you have to keep in mind that those don't have to hit you. If you block them, they will put you in shock state as well. Now, of course, how could we talk about Kai without mentioning Dragon Install? So Dragon Install is going to be a unique mechanic to Kai this time around, and it's indicated by this red lightning when your health is at the 30% mark. So once you have this red lightning around you, that means you can activate Dragon Install for 50 meters. So you just do the input, and he's going to go into Dragon Install. Now, this is a permanent buff to Kai until the end of the round. Whether you win or lose, it will go away. This is going to enhance all of his special moves. As you can see, multi-hitting. This is multi-hitting. This does multiple hits now, 5 hits rather than 3. Even his DP has changed. As you can see, he can even combo off his DP as such. So he can do combos off his DP now when he hits with it. He also get a slight change to his supers. So I believe they just do increased damage. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of the buff. So he doesn't have access to shock state anymore because all his things are already enhanced and he gets it automatically pretty much. So very strong tool for him. He can also just do normal combos without having to be in like shock state. So this will now combo with the 5k normally rather than him having to be in the state, and it just overall enhances his special moves for sure. So it's basically like having a permanent shock state with even more enhancements on the character at the same time. So once again, Kai is going to be a character that's going to excel at the mid-range. He's going to be very good at keeping the opponent out with his buttons, doing projectiles, stuff like this. He also has the stun dipper that is very good for, you know, going under attacks very low. And like he can set up pressure and stuff too. So he can, like, you know, stay close to the opponent, pressure the opponent, and back off whenever he wants. So he's pretty good at a lot of ranges in the game. He's just not very good at like full screen. He has a projectile, but it's not really where you want to be. He's really excels with his poke range around here, where he can use his 2S, this button, and his 6H to basically pressure his opponent, keep him out, and land straight hits until he could get a knockdown, until he could set up his party situation. So that's pretty much what Kai wants to do. His main weakness is that he has to rely on shock state in order to make some of his frame data either plus or safe in some situations. So some things will be naturally safe, but other things aren't going to be really safe until he has a shock state on you. So having a fireball, and in doing that, this will make things more safe for him. And of course, when it comes to this button right here, this isn't really a safe ender on certain characters for sure. If it's IB, then I think everybody universally can punish it. But with shock state, this will make this safe as well. So he gets a lot more safer, and his combos, some of his combos are locked behind shock state as well. So that's going to be one of the weaknesses of the character, is that he has to utilize shock state in order to get things started or to make things safe for him in certain situations. Overall, Kai is going to be a very beginner friendly character. You could pretty much pick him up very easily, learn some standard stuff, and do pretty well with this character. So I definitely recommend him for beginners. So now to talk about the high-speed ninja himself, Chipp. So Chipp is going to be a very fast character. He's going to be a nice rush down character with a couple of unique mechanics. So he has access to a triple jump, so he can jump 3 times in the air, unlike everybody doing 2. He also has a wall run mechanic. So near the wall, if you dash towards it, he can actually just run up the wall like that. And he can do attacks up the wall as he's going like that. He can come off the wall anytime he wants by pressing back or down. He can come straight down and do attacks like that. If you think he's about to go backwards, he comes right down. Very good. He also has very good mix-up too. So he has access to a command grab. He has access to Alpha Blade, which these are actually cross-up. So you have to block this in the opposite direction. He also has one that goes in the air like this, and you still have to block it cross-up. So very crazy. He has the one that goes down once again. Cross up, if it does hit you, you do have to block it cross up. He has access to the command grab. He has access to the 6k, which is a overhead, and he has access to the Rekkas. So the Rekkas is this. He can go low, or he can go overhead, which he can combo off of. If he hits you with that, he can pick up for a combo off the overhead. He also has access to a DP on top of all these crazy options, and he has a projectile. Now, one thing about his projectile is, if you do hit the projectile, he does take damage. So keep that in mind if you're going to be using this character. He does take damage when doing this, so don't use it very often. Don't use it to where people understand what you're doing. Make sure you are using it sparingly and, you know, not being predictable with how you use it. So Chipp is once again a character that wants to be in your face. He wants to always be going for mix-ups. This is going to be a character that's going to take a lot of lab work, because you're going to be having crazy setups with running on the wall past your opponents and mixing them up accordingly, and that's going to be his style. He wants to always be pressuring you. He has very good cross-ups, even with his buttons. As you can see, this cross-up, even his H button can cross up like this. So he has pretty good cross-up buttons and stuff like that. So he's going to be a crazy rush down, mix heavy character that's going to be mixing you a lot. So if you're all about rush down and mix, this is a character for you. Now, his downside, his weakness is he has the lowest health in the game. So as you can see, he takes a lot of damage for nothing. So if I do something like this with Mei, as you can see, the damage is already racking up, and I don't even know how to play this character like that. But as you can see, he takes damage. So keep that in mind if you're playing this character. He is going to be a character that has very low life, one of the lowest in the game, and you just have to keep that in mind when you're playing this character. that comes at the detriment of having all these tools at his disposal. Now time to talk about the jellyfish pirate May. So May is going to be a charge character. So for charge characters, basically what you have to do is you have to hold back or down back and then press forward with the button at the right time. So there is a timing to it. Once you get enough frames of charging, then you can release it. There is a forward version of her dolphin, and then there's the up version. She also have an S and an H. The H version is plus, and then for the up ones, one is like a shorter trajectory than the other. So this one doesn't go that far, and this one will go all the way to him. So those are the charge moves she has. She also has a projectile. So she has two of them, two different trajectories. So this one goes that far, and this one goes that far. So almost full screen. So her full screen presence, at least at that angle, is pretty good, but they could jump that pretty easily. So it's not something to rely on for too much, but she does make up for it for having some really good air buttons. So she's very good in the air, very good air buttons, kind of just tosses out. Also, there's a very good air to ground button. So she's very good at hitting people from the sky, coming down and then fishing for combos that way. She's also always pretty safe when it comes to her things. She's pretty relatively safe. She also has a command grab of her own, so in the corner she could get combos from it like this. So she can combo from her overhead. She also has another overhead, a command overhead, which is this right here. So this is very good for baiting throws. So if you're doing something like this and somebody think you're going to throw, you go for this and then like start your pressure from there. Or if you get the counter hit, you may be able to pick up for a combo, a quick combo, which would be nice too. She also has another command normal, which makes her drop down. So this could change like trajectory of her jump. So it can mess people up. They think you're going to come down right away. It sort of like stalls her a little bit, which is nice. She also has this really far reaching low that she can utilize like this. This is going to be pretty unsafe the closer it is to the opponent. So don't do it right in their face. Make sure you space it out. One of her noticeable normals, or a couple of noticeable normals, is her 5K. This is going to be a really good poke for her. As you can see, very good range. It's actually run cancelable, and her close slash is also run cancelable. So you can run cancel these normals. Try to pick up, probably a command grab, or trick your opponent and like go for like, your pressure again to reset pressure and stuff like that. So it can be pretty good to use those things. Now, as far as her weakness go, she is a charge character, so a lot of her things are going to be tied to charges. So if charges is something that's hard for you, this is going to be a harder character for you to play. She also isn't really that crazy when she's like this far away from the screen. So of course, if you are a person that wants to have a full screen presence, she's not going to really have that for you. But she is going to be very good at the air, and she does have to do charges to like do her moves and stuff like that. So that is going to be a weakness for this character, and a thing that's going to probably stop you from playing this character if you aren't familiar with charges. Obviously, if you can learn charges, then I think she is pretty beginner friendly as far as what she offers. So if you're willing to take the steps to learn charges, then I think this would be a good character for you. So now to talk about my main character, Millia Rage. So this character is going to be a set play character. Her main game plan is to knock you down, put this on you, and run a bunch of mix-ups. Left, right, high, low, you name it, she has it. That is going to be something that she is going to try to do to you. She also has the unique ability of doing 2 air dashes. So how Chipp has 3 jumps, this character has 2 air dashes. She can also use that in conjunction, so she could jump, double jump, and then 1 air dash. So she does have 3 air options, but she has access to 2 air dashes, which sets her game plan up so she could do stuff that is a little bit crazier. And you get the gist of that. So she really is scary when it comes to her approach. Once she knocks you down, she has a lot of options at her disposal, and they are very good. Talking about some of her noticeable normals, she has this 5K. This is also able to chain into itself, and it will lead into her sweep knockdown, which will set up her Oki. She has a very good anti-air, which is close slash. So if she is right above you, or you're right above her, this anti-air will be very good for her. This is going to be one of her mainly used anti-airs. Obviously 6P is also a very good one. She has hair card. This is relatively unsafe. Characters can punish it depending on the character and how they deal with it, especially with IB, but it's also a pretty good tool to use in conjunction with her other tools. She has Bad Moon, which is another overhead option. So This is a very fast overhead that she can do off some of her buttons. You're not going to be using it that much because it lessens your Oki. You can use it in the corner, especially if you got meter, and that'll be something she would utilize right there. So that is her mechanic with the double dash, and of course being able to set the play. One of her main weaknesses is going to be, once again, like Chipp, she is going to have a low life. So things just gradually, naturally hurts her a lot. As you can see, I don't even know how to play Zato like that, and I took like 60% of her life for doing nothing. So she is going to be a pixie character. She isn't going to have much life. You have to make sure that you're always moving around, trying to get the best position, knocking your opponent down, run your game plan, and don't let them get to play the game, because that is what she excels at, not letting her opponent play the game. So this is a character I wouldn't really recommend for beginners just because of how much labbing has to be done. There's a lot of situations you have to be familiar with in order to basically always have the right game plan when it comes to dealing with opponents' defensive options, because raw supers will do like 70% and stuff, and you know, you're playing a character with very low health. Even though you have high mobility and very good mix-up, the health detrimental thing will be a deterring factor, and the amount of lab work and specific nuances for character matchups you have to know in order to make this character 100% viable. Now let's talk about Zato. So Zato is going to be a pretty unique character here. He is going to be a puppet character. So the unique thing about him is he has this ability to summon the shadow. This shadow is in conjunction with him. He can move the shadow independent of him by holding the down directions. It can also move with him. It is faster than him naturally from his walk position. It can go behind the opponent as well, and it can set up things. So this character is very technical in the sense that he has to do negative edging. So if you don't know what negative edging is, basically you hold down a button, and when you hold down the button Eddie won't do the move until you let go. So once I let go of the button, then the move will come out. As you can see, I'm holding the button, and when I let go, the move will come out. So you have to do this in conjunction with the attacks that you're doing, and then release buttons at the right time. So for an example of this, would be something like this. So what I did there is I did the S version, I held it, and then I pressed the H button, I held that as well, and then I released the S button in order to do the S special move. So things like that is what you're going to have to do to get used to this character. Once again, a very hard character to utilize, but very strong when in conjunction with Eddie. So what he wants to do is he wants to knock you down, he wants to set up Eddie, and he wants to basically do a bunch of mix-ups to you. He also has the unique ability to do a flight. So his flight is also a thing he can do. So he can fly. By pressing up, he has the ability to fly, and he can cancel it anytime. He can block while flying too. He can cancel with buttons. He can cancel it into this crazy move. He can also cancel some moves into flight. So he can do stuff like this with double overheads. So really crazy character. Stuff like this. And this stuff in conjunction with Eddie at the same time can make for some crazy scenarios. He also have access to a command grab, which does pretty good damage and will allow him to get time to get his meter back, because you can see Eddie is on a meter at the bottom, so it will take meter for everything he does. Once the meter is going, it has to gradually fill back up before you can get him again. So having that command grab that's pretty long, you know, does take up a considerable amount of time to give you time to get Eddie back, which is nice. Another thing to talk about for him is his weakness. Now, when you don't have Eddie, his buttons aren't the best. So if we talk about his buttons have really large hurt boxes, as you can see. His hurt box is pretty much essentially out there before his button even comes out there. As you see, I'm pressing my button really early, and I am still hitting him. So he has very poor hurt boxes. Very easy to hit. So you have to keep that in mind when you're playing this character, that you without Eddie isn't going to be really good. In conjunction with Eddie, you're very strong, but without him, you are susceptible to getting hit out of your normals really easily. So that's going to be one of the problems playing Zato, is not having Eddie meter and still having to play a neutral situation waiting to get him back. So managing Eddie properly is going to be one of the skill sets that you're going to have to utilize while playing this puppet character. Now, let's talk about Nagoriyuki. So the unique thing about this character is that he is one of the slow moving characters in the game. He doesn't have access to a dash, and he doesn't have access to a air dash. So he's going to be very slow. The other unique thing about him is his blood gauge down there, right above his meter. So every time he does special moves, like say this projectile right here, it fills up. Now if it goes to max, he goes into blood rage, and as you can see, he loses a lot of health, but he also gained access to some new special moves. He also gained access to a new super, which does massive damage. However, the thing about it is you don't want to really go in this mode because of how much health you lose naturally. Like, he lost almost 60% from doing that to himself. So you want to stay out of blood rage. So how do you do it? You want to use your special moves. What you can do is this character have access to a command grab. So the command grab makes the meter go all the way down. As you can see, there is another way to make it go down, and that's to hit with sword normal. So as you hit with sword normals, you can see blood fly back to him, and this will gradually make that happen. So if we showcase that right here, so I hit with that, and then you can see I make blood fly back to me, and it gradually decreases, but it's not as fast as doing the command grab. Now the other unique thing about this character is that he has access to the ability to chain his special moves into each other. So this is one of his special moves, and this is one of his special moves, along with the command dash. So he can do stuff like this, and as long as he's not in blood rage, he could keep going. Now the thing about it is that the more you do it, the faster the gauge will actually go up. So you have to keep in mind how many special moves you're utilizing, and you want to make sure that you are using as least as possible in order to ensure that you do not go inside that mode. So how to play and how to win Nagoriyuki with Nagoriyuki. You basically want to stay at this range right here. This is a very good range for him. He wants to stay here. He has pretty good buttons here. He has a move this right here that covers this range. This move covers this range. Is actually considered a command normal because this move could be pressed 3 times. His slash, his far slash, like this. So he can do pretty good things from his far slash from very far. So even your hand with the tip of it, he's still getting combos from it like crazy. So very, very good to stay at this range right here. Oppress your opponent, you know, maybe throw out a special move once in a while. If you want to command dash in, if you think you got to open, you see an opening for your opponent, you could do stuff like that as well. But this is a very good range for him. And obviously his weakness is his lack of mobility outside of using his command dashes, which directly affects his blood gauge. So now it's time to talk about Ino. So Ino is a very good mix-up character. So her main game plan is to knock you down, set up this note, and fly at you. Yes, you heard that right. This character's unique mechanic is that her dash is a hover dash. So she hovers in the air for her dash, which sets up for some really fast high-low situations that are pretty hard to block, as you can see. So she will do something like this, knock you down, set that up, and she could come behind it for another mix-up. You have to guess constantly about it. She also can do this hover thing in the air. It sort of puts her at an angle. You have to keep that in mind. And she does have access to double overheads. Unique things about her supers is that her super is plus. So if she does her super in the air, it actually will give her plus frames. And it has 2 different points. So the air version is different from the actual ground version. This will lead to her uppercut. And then she also has access to a command grab super as well. So this command grab super is going to be a command grab if it hits, and is going to be a projectile super if it misses. So if it doesn't hit, you don't get animation, but you still get a projectile that comes out. So very good supers for the most part, for sure. Noticeable other things is she has this move called Stroke the Big Tree. This move will go under things, much like how we were talking about with Soul and Kai. This move will go under a lot of things. The H version actually being plus, and it actually gives a stagger state, one of the actual few staggers that are in the game that you can combo off of. So that's something very important to her game plan. Now, one of the main weaknesses of Ino is actually going to be the thing that actually makes her strong, which is going to be her dash. Because her dash is like this, she's always airborne, which means she's susceptible to getting mashed out with anti-airs or just buttons from characters like that are just pressing buttons from full screen, like say Nagoriyuki pressing this. You can definitely just hit her for trying to move. So that's going to be a problem with her trying to get in. Now she does have something to help her with her moving a little bit, which is this. So this could get you out of tight spots, which you could use this like this, or you can use the ground version to approach at them. So she can do that. Of course, her projectile. One unique thing about her projectile is that it can be controlled. So I can move it up, down. You know, you can do up and then go down. So as long as you're pressing a direction for it, you can move it, and you can do it at the same time while you're flying at them. So you can start trying to move it like that too. So pretty unique projectile that you could do stuff like that with. So that's something good to keep in mind, especially if you got characters that like to go under things. This will stop Kai and Soul from going underneath it because it will go down to the ground, and you can come in from the sky. Now, it's not going to make it a low or overhead by you doing anything like that. It just simply makes it to where the move can cover ranges that you want it to cover. So because of Ino's unique game plan and the way that she moves, I don't think this character is very good for beginners. However, if you're a person that is going to be used to these type of hover dashes from other games, if you have played any other fighting games, then this may be the character for you, especially with the mix-ups that she have in hand. So next character we're going to talk about is Anji Mito. So Anji Mito is going to be a character in this game that's going to have a couple unique mechanics to him. The first thing we're going to talk about is his counter. So his counter is in a couple of his moves. It's going to be in this right here. It's going to be in this anti-air, and it's going to be in the first part of his Rekka if you hold it. Now, this will actually make him glow gold for a second with like a gold aura if it actually connects with an attack, and this gives him a chance to punish. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if there is a lot of hits in it, he's not going to always be able to go through it like that. So there is a chance he could potentially get punished as well. So that's something you have to keep in mind. The next thing to talk about is his Rekka. So his Rekka is pretty cool. So it starts off with his 236 heavy slash, and then after that, he got a couple of follow-ups. Before that, if you hold it, he will actually get a spin, and if they press a button during this time, then he will actually do the spin thing. But keep in mind, it's not always the best case scenario, because with characters like Giovanna, they can still punish him accordingly. So, talking about some of the follow-ups, one of them is going to be a low. One of them is a overhead. One is a command jump, which this is pretty good for setting up like a tick throw. So you can do something like this. And then he has one that sends one of the fans downwards, and this is going to create some plus frames for him so he can do more things. Now, a main game plan for Anji is setting up this butterfly. So this butterfly comes out, it does 2 hits, initial hit, and then it comes down. So this is very good for setting up his Oki situation. So you knock the opponent down, set this up, and then you go follow up after it, doing a bunch of attacks. So this is going to be his main game plan, is setting this butterfly up after a knockdown, and then going for mix-ups as such. You can always go for, you know, some of these and use this accordingly. He also has access to, like I said, this anti-air attack, which is also very good. And yeah, you're just going to pretty much be setting your opponent up with the butterfly and going for things like this. Going for mix-ups, left, right, high, lows, and using Fujin accordingly to try to get either resets or to finish a combo or to open them up. Another unique thing about Anji Mito is his counter super. So he does have access to a counter super that is very good. So if we take a look at it here, this will connect off just about anything that hits it, even projectiles. So very, very good super here. And if he even has more meter, you can also cancel that for an additional combo for even more damage. So as you can see, the damage can rack up pretty high with this character. When he has meter, he can be very scary with all his counters and stuff. So basically what he's going to be doing is he's going to be trying to fish for hits, trying to get butterfly, doing the Rekkas, and using counters and stuff when he thinks opponents are going to basically do things. So he's going to be a character that's really going to be conditioning his opponent and making reads with counters and counter supers to get maximum amounts of damage. Honestly, the main weakness for Anji is going to be a player that is going to be able to react to his mix-up. So as you can see, he does have all these follow-ups. These can be very scary, but for a person that can react to a lot of this, react to the overhead specifically, since the low is going to be something that is going to be pre-blocked, since most people block low in the first place. If someone can react to this overhead, then his mix-up is going to be a little bit harder to utilize, because all the follow-ups are kind of minus in a sense outside of this, but this can be maneuvered around to get a punish. You have to keep that in mind when you're playing this character, that if you're fighting someone that is going to be utilizing things correctly, then you have to be able to mix it up appropriately to where you can condition them again in order to get the next hit. So up next, we're going to talk about Giovanna. So Giovanna also has a couple unique mechanics to her. She's a pretty cool character. So first thing we're going to talk about is her hop dash. So rather than a run, she actually has a hop dash that she could use in conjunction with her normals, and this will close the gap pretty fast. She also has this other mechanic. As you can see, she's glowing green. So what is this? I start around, you see she glows green. This is when she has 100 meter. So when she has 100 meters, she gains access to more damage. That's pretty much all it does. It doesn't change any of the properties of her moves or anything like that. It simply is just a damage buff for her. So as you can see, especially with raw supers, it does massive damage. So yeah, it's just a damage buff for her. Now talking about her special moves, she has some pretty good special moves. Starting off with the spiral arrow, this is going to be a gap closer, or it can be used in combos. This is also going to be plus on block. Then she has access to this command hop. This is going to basically be an overhead, and it's also going to be plus on block, and it can cross up and not cross up, which is good. You also have an air version of it, which can be used with her JK, which crosses up, and you can use this to basically do combos from the air like that. So it's gonna be pretty good that you could use both of them in conjunction. You could do stuff like this, and if it crosses up, you could do stuff like that and RC it for a full combo. Now there is her Rekka move. This is going to do 3 kicks, and you could delay it. So you can see I'm putting a lot of time between it, or you could do it right away. Sometimes you're going to want to do delays for combo opportunities, so that's something to keep in mind. He also has this pretty good anti-air cartwheel kick. This is going to be a very good way to anti-air your opponents out of the air. So keep that in mind. Now the weakness of this character is going to be mainly that she doesn't have a real full screen presence. She can try to close the gap with her command dash or her spiral arrow, trying to get some plus frames, but she's also expectable to getting jumped a lot because she has a lot of moves that do multi-hits like the slash and this button, which are going to be the main buttons you're trying to come in with. She can be jumped pretty easily and punished, especially with this move too. You have to keep in mind that she is going to have a problem dealing with characters that have good jump ins, but she also has this cartwheel that's extremely fast, so if you can read the opponent, this is going to be pretty good. And of course, the good old 6p universal anti-air will help out with those situations. But once she's in your face, she's a pretty devastating character that can do pretty good things as far as mixing you up. Because she has a command dash, command hop like that, she can do really fast throws on her opponents. So setting up tick throws and utilizing the ability to create plus frames for herself with the overhead and the spiral arrow will also help out her game plan to stay in the opponent's face and dish out pressure to gain the hit to do massive damage, because her damage output is pretty good. So next up, we're going to talk about Leo. So Leo's character style is going to be like a stance character. So he has the ability to basically go inside this other stance, and this is where things get pretty unique for him. But one thing to talk about his mobility, he does also have a sort of a, not really a hop dash, but his dash sort of has like a stop momentum built into it. So he can't continue to run like other characters like Ramlethal and others. So he basically just runs for a little bit and then it automatically stops him. So that's something to keep in mind. He also has some other unique mechanics besides the stance that allows him to do some unique gatlings that other characters can't do. For example, he can basically chain his slash and heavy slash infinitely as long as he has range, as you can see. So, and it even could go backwards. So he can start off with heavy slash and go backwards to slash. So this is something pretty unique to him, as a lot of characters can't really do this chain of offense, but this is something that he can do for sure. Another thing for him is that he has access to these shields. So these shields are guard point, and they can basically, yeah, they could guard a lot of attacks. So if we have Ramlethal do an attack here, he can do that and then press a button afterwards whenever he wants to basically punish them for pressing buttons. He could do this off of his slash, you just hold the button, and he can do this off his heavy slash, and he can move forward and backwards with it. So now talking about the back stance itself, so he has a couple of things from it. One thing to note from this is that he can't block while doing this. He does have access to his supers though, and he has access to this super. So this super isn't normally here for him. He has to be inside a back stance to actually use the super, and it does massive damage, and I believe it is also still plus from like when it was in Exar. Now talking about the moves inside this, so he has a couple unique things. One thing, his dust turns into a counter attack. So if we have Ramlethal actually attack this, he will attack back. He also has the ability to basically go behind the opponent, so he could cross them up. He has access to a low, this mid, this other mid, and this overhead. Now he can also chain these just like this. He can chain this also combos by itself, so he can combo, cross up. Very crazy mix up that comes from this. Now the opponent can throw you out of this if you do try to be tricky with it, so you do have to keep in mind that you can be thrown, but basically you get mixed up from this. Pretty fast, consistent mix up. He also can get ended from this, so this is a cross up. So basically when he's doing pressure at any time, he can do this cross up, but once again the opponent can throw you out of this. Notably, he also has pretty good jumping in attack, so his JK has always been good. This move right here is also pretty good. When spaced out correctly, this could be pretty good for a jump in attack or just catching the opponent. But this JK is very good, very active button. As you can see, I can press it from pretty far away and it still hits the opponent. So really good jumping button for sure for this character, so helps him get in. He also has access to projectiles, so he has this fast projectile and he has access to this slow projectile, and of course he has a DP. This is going to be a flash kick, so it actually is a charge motion, so you have to hold down and then press up, but you can charge it while you're getting hit. So while you're already on the ground, someone knocks you down, you can already still charge, so don't worry, you can still get reversal timings with this type of DP, even though it's a charge motion. So yeah, this is going to be a character that wants to get in your face and he wants to stay there and mix you up, but he also has a little bit of a guessing game that he can play because he can always do counters to you as well. One thing to note also is that he has access to special moves from this that are pretty good. He has access to a command grab, so he can also command grab you if you're scared to press anything. He also has access to this as well, so this attack is going to be an unblockable, so it's considered an overhead, but if you block, it's going to put you in basically a guard crush state, which makes it to where you have to mash out. If you don't do it correctly, then he actually can get a free combo that's not going to be a real combo, but it's a combo that can happen to you if he actually hits you with it. So this character got a lot of unique things going for him, and he is pretty good as far as when he's in. He wants to stay in, like I said. He's not going to be as good when he's back here, although he do have projectiles that can help him get in. They are pretty slow, so if you're fighting someone that has access to good projectiles or faster projectiles, this isn't going to help you as much. But once you're in, he is definitely a menace to deal with. So now to talk about Ramlethal. So Ramlethal is going to be a character that's going to utilize these swords. And these swords have the unique mechanic of being thrown. So she can shoot the swords and they will come back after a period of time. Or if she is close to the wall with them, she will actually get them back if she is near them. So once they land on the ground, she can actually just pick them up by just being near them, and she will just get it back immediately. So that is one thing about her. Also, if you shoot the swords, if she does her super, this will automatically give her her swords back because they have to be there in order to do the super. You also have access to one of their best reversals in the game, this super right here. Now this super does massive damage, but it also lowers the amount of damage it does when you don't have the swords. So if I shoot both of the swords and I don't have them, when I do the super, it's not going to do as much damage, as you can see. So that's something to keep in mind. This character also has really good things when it comes to her normals. So once again, these normals are very good, very safe. She also has access to 5k, very fast poke that can lead into Daru, and you can pick it up with the RC combo. Now, one thing about her swords that I need to mention is that in the corner, these swords can be pretty devastating to deal with, and that's because they can actually set up for plus situations. So if we put the opponent to block, you can see the sword actually explodes, and this will make it to where it's hard with the opponent to deal with, because you can sit here and do stuff like this, and you could just keep going on and on. However, when the sword touches them, they can jump out, but it does make their approach a bit easier to understand, because you know they want to get out. You can sort of just hop in the air and still stop them from trying to jump out, and there's nothing they can do about it because this is a frame trap. So unless the person has a DP before you throw the sword, then there's really nothing they can really do about it until it actually just naturally happens. So very good character when it comes to that. She also has a very good throw game because of how fast her dashing is. And she has access to some of the best anti-airs in the game, with this 2 ways being one, and her 6p because of how low to the ground she actually gets when she does it. So this character is very low to the ground when she does things, and it's really helps her out when it comes to things like that. So like Leo, she is going to be a pretty easy character to play with. Pretty much you just want to stay at this range right here and basically abuse your normals, because her normals really don't have hurt boxes on it to where you can hit it pretty easily. So if we press a button here, as you can see, there's really nothing there to like hit. So it's very hard to punish her. You have to like really be in there to try to punish her. But you don't want to run into it because she will try to hit you with the heavy slash as well. So very hard to punish her and very hard to get something off to the punish if you do have a normal that can actually reach over there. So she's going to be a very safe character. One other thing to talk about is she does have this overhead that you can utilize. So keep in mind she does have this. And of course her Rekkas. The first hit of her Rekka actually can be dash canceled. So that's something to keep in mind. However, any hit of her Rekka isn't actually safe. You have to keep that in mind as well. So when you do the Rekka, you're doing it in knowing that, you know, the opponent can try to punish you from doing your Rekkas. But the first hit can be dash canceled, so that can help her out too. Okay, so now it's time to talk about Faust. So Faust is a very interesting character in this game. So he is going to be the designated item throw character. So basically what he does is he throws out these items and they are completely RNG for what you get. There's a bomb, there's this trumpet, which makes these little mini Faustus come out and they ransack you. There's food items, there's items that like make things unblockable, there's meteors, there's things you can eat that like gives you health back. But all these items, not all of them, but a lot of these items can be utilized by the opponent too. So the food on the ground, the enemies can pick up and actually utilize. The trumpet, the enemies can pick up and utilize as well. And they can also use the afro. Now the afro, if I get one, there we go. So the afro is something that can basically buff Faust in a sense, because it gives the opponent an afro. So what that is going to do is it's going to allow him to basically do combos he couldn't do before. So this command grab he has also allows him to do it. And then if he explodes it, it's going to give him that extra little pop up there, as you saw. So once again, just showcase it once again. There's a little pop up and he gets a little combo off of it. So he's going to be very good at this like mid range right here. He wants to stay like right here, poking his opponent with like buttons like this. You know, he's very good at keeping his opponents out with like this nice 6p anti-air, this 5k that's pretty good at anti-airing. He also has some pretty good rush down. He has his like 3 low hitting 2k here. He also has a dive kick you do, so he can stay in the air pretty good. He has very good buttons to keep the opponent at bay with this like heavy he has this like jump kick to like try to come in, so you know he's jumping in real quick. You can do something like this. So pretty good buttons when it comes all around when it comes to that type of thing. Another thing to him is he actually has this crouch walk. So you're probably never going to see this that much, but he can walk like this. This will probably help him when it comes to like dealing with certain projectiles, because they can actually go over him when he do this. So he does have a very low crouch to the ground, and he can actually just sort of just creep by some of the projectiles in the game. But for the most part, he's going to be basically utilizing this command, his buttons into the actual item toss, and whatever items that are on the field, he is going to be making a game plan with that item. He also has access to the scarecrow, so he can choose which direction you want to go, so left, right, and then he has a high version as well. He also has access to that. He has access to this overhead. He has access to this fishing hook. Now this fishing hook is a pretty cool mechanic to mess around with, because there actually is a perfect hit. So as you can see, when you pull them in, you can actually get a perfect hit on it, like right before they land to the ground. It'll send them like really far away, and it'll make like this crazy like sound effect. See if I can get it for you guys. There we go, just like that. So yeah, there is a perfect hit on it. You can do it a little too early and not like get that much damage at all, like right there. But yeah, he is a pretty interesting character when it comes to that. So he is going to be a harder character to play, because you're going to have to utilize these items And when you throw these items, you're going to have to make a game plan according to what items you get. So what you're going to be doing is actively going to be changing on the fly, depending on what character you're fighting and what items that you're getting out, because it's completely RNG of what you get. So you have a little bit of randomness that you have to play in effect. And that means his combos are going to be a little bit on the unorthodox side, because he's going to have to randomly combo off some of the items. So some items you're just going to have some awareness of what item you got and be able to like combo off of it accordingly based on what's happening, like with the bombs and stuff like that. You're gonna have to make up some unique combos and sometimes on the fly when it's comes to this character. But that's the type of thing you like, then Faust is definitely for you. All right, so now to talk about Potemkin. So Potemkin is going to be the grappler of the game. So obviously he's going to be very slow, not very mobile at all, no dash, no air dash, just a regular jump. He does have a double jump though. Now he does have charge motions. That's going to be for this right here, his hammerfall. So this is going to have a charge motion with it. Now he does have ways to stop projectile stuff. He has this flick. So if we have Kai do a projectile here, he can actually send projectiles back. It does take some timing, but he can send it back with his own fireball. So that is something he could do. And of course, being the grappler, he's going to have access to the damaging command grabs that do massive damage. And one of his supers is also a command grab that also does massive damage. So if you just want to get in, do massive damage with command grabs, this will definitely be the character for you. Obviously, his weakness right off the bat should be apparent. He doesn't have any mobility, so he's going to be very hard for him to approach, even with the flick, because this has to be something that's done right away. He does have this. This slide head is going to basically be a low attack. If he does hit this, he can use that as the opportunity to come in. Now, with this hammerfall, this does have armor. So if we make Kai do an attack, we can actually armor one hit of something. And we can actually use that armor to break like this and set up for different opportunities. Now he also has overheads. He has the Mega Fist, so he could do stuff like Mega Fist, or you can Mega Fist backwards too. So if you want to, for some reason, get away, you can do that. But yeah, he can do the Mega Fist. Another thing he has going for him is he has a guard break. So this right here will break people's guard, and it will make it to where they have to press the button. So if they are guarding, then you will get a guard break for that attack. His main game plan is to set up an opportunity where he can get the throw. So once he is in, getting a knockdown like this is good for him, because he can basically go for a safe jump like such and then start his offense. So basically what he will be trying to do is make the opponent scared of the throw. His sweep will always connect with his 2k, same with his 5k, and his 5k is a low, so you don't have to worry about a range where this will not connect, which is good for him because he wants to be able to set this opportunity up to make people scared. If they're scared, they try to hold up, and he could get a quick combo, something like that. Or he can do this and set the situation up again, and basically until he gets the opportunity to go for the throw. Once he gets the throw, obviously big damage. He does have an anti-air throw too, so you can anti-air the opponent. Now he does have this too. This could close the gap. It's not as good as it used to be, I don't think, but it could be something you can use. And you can use it in conjunction with flick and like pressure, so it's command normal. So if you want to do something like this, like pressure, you could definitely do that. That definitely works. Once again, he has pretty good buttons though. So these buttons are pretty good, you know, very far range. He has a 6-8, very slow, but nice damage on it. So he can definitely contest his own spot. Very good anti-air, by the way. And of course, if you hit with this right here, you can actually get the super. Now he has the other super as well. The other super is going to be a projectile super. This. So it basically is like a wall, and it slows the opponents down on hit, as you can see. So he slowly goes to the ground. When he hits with it point blank, it just does one single hit. Now, like I was saying before, he can do hammer break fall. So basically, once you do the charge motion, if you press the punch button, you can actually break with it. This makes things scary because people are expecting you to do it and you don't actually commit, and so you can, you know, basically play mind games with reset pressures right there. He also has a air command grab, as I was saying before, which is going to be DP heavy. So this right here, so if guy is jumping and you notice he's jumping, you can, you know, shoot him up and hammer ball fall break to get over there in time. So you can always get over there once you get the knockdown. It's no problem to get over there once you get the knockdown. Also, him in conjunction with the FD mechanic or RC mechanic is really good because how fast throws can be. Like, look how fast that throw is. So you can set up some pretty scary situations off pressure, such as that. Like, very, very scary situation. Just the fact that he can do that, and then if you're trying to jump, he can try to anti-air you with the anti-air one, or he could do 2H, or if he thinks you're going to jump and he has the read, he goes straight for the super. So very scary situations if he has the meter to do everything. But yeah, this is going to be not so much of a beginner friendly character, probably at the beginner's level. At beginner's level, this character can, you know, pretty much beat your friends up and like other players that aren't too familiar with the game. But once you start fighting people that are very familiar with the game and are stronger, they're going to be able to shut this character down in the right spots, just because it's harder for him to get in. So if you're okay with a character that has charge motions and has a little bit of struggle getting in, but once they get in, they really make you guess, then Potemkin is definitely the character for you. So last but not least is Axel. So Axel is going to be the designated zoner of this game. So a lot of his tools are going to be able to poke very far on the screen. He's going to be able to hit you, you know, very annoyingly from very far ranges. But this also goes into the fact that he also have dead zones because of his actual range. So things with like some of his specials, if we look at this will miss at certain ranges, stuff like this will miss. So you have to know exactly what range you at to know exactly what you want to do, because some things have follow-ups like this that can give you the actual proper thing you need. So knowing the ranges and where to play at will be what's benefit for him. Now, what's unique about him, besides him being the range character of the game, is mainly actually his super. So his super is pretty unique in the fact that it stops time. So if we do this right here, he starts to glow purple, as you can see. Now, once he has this purple aura on him, he can designate it at any time by doing the same motion. And this will stop time, and he could basically do whatever he wants to. Now, if you're blocking, it's not going to do anything. But if he lands an attack on you while this is happening, like this, he can do some crazy combos and, you know, really make it hurt when you're fighting a good Axel player. So this super is pretty unique in that aspect. To make Axel's full screen game even more scary, he also has a full screen command grab that puts him a little bit closer. Now, when he's up close, he's actually still has a couple of things he could do. So for example, he does have these overhead, he has this resin, and he has follow-ups on it. So he can do the low follow-up, which is this actually pulls you in, even if you're far away. So you can see it actually pulls you in. And then there's the other follow-up, which you don't want to do up close because it'll miss. Now with that resin move as well, he can also explode it from far away. So if he wants to, you know, hit you from far away still, he can explode it like that and, you know, keep you at a bay. So pretty good with there. And then of course with the conjunction with this command grab, it's a pretty devastating combo when you're trying to get in between all these different types of pokes and all these different angles he can cover while he is trying to stop you from actually getting in. So he is pretty good at that. Last thing to talk about with this character is noting that this move is actually a charge move. So he does have charge moves. Even though he is a zoner, you will have to do some type of charge moves. So if you want to play, you know, a character with range that don't have charge moves, then this probably won't be the character for you. It's only like this one move, but it does have charges. And once again, it has a bunch of follow-ups that you can utilize off of it as well. He has a bunch of other special moves he could use, like Snell. He has this right here. He could do this in the air as well. This also has, once again, a dead zone. So be careful with that. So you can use that like that and stuff like that. And he has Axel Bomber, which is a good like air conversion tool that gives him a hard knockdown. So if he's converting in the air, this would be the tool he'll use, especially during those sweet combos where he's in this and he's doing stuff like this to try to, you know, get some damage and stuff. You can do Axel Bomber in those combos and sometimes even loop it, so it becomes absolutely crazy. And that pretty much concludes our Guilty Gear Strive character overview. I hope you guys found that useful as far as which character you want to play inside of this game. Once again, that was supposed to just be highlighting some of the normals that these characters use, what makes them unique, and their character archetypes, their game plan on like how to play them and when, and their strengths and weaknesses you may notice while playing each character. So I hope you guys found this useful. If you did, drop me a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you did as well. As always, my name is Dyken, and I'll see you next time. Signing out.